She thought the silence of the quarry would be her end. Instead, it became the beginning of her roar. At 64 years old, betrayed by the man she'd given 30 years to, expelled from the home she'd decorated with her own hands, Donna was left with nothing but a tool shed in an abandoned quarry that everyone said was worthless. What her ex-husband didn't know, what Donna herself was about to discover, was that when you strip everything from a strong woman, you don't destroy her. You just remove the weight that was holding her down. 6 months later, when the world came back to that forgotten quarry, they didn't find a broken woman waiting to die. They found a secret carved into stone that would make everyone who had underestimated her fall to their knees. This is Donna's story, proof that being discarded doesn't mean being worthless, that 64 is not too old to rebuild from nothing, and that the most beautiful transformations happen when no one is watching. If you've ever been told you don't matter anymore, if you've ever had to start over when everyone said it was too late, if you believe that your value isn't determined by someone else's inability to see it, subscribe now, because stories like Donna's remind us that dreams don't age. Donna pulled her car into the quarry entrance and killed the engine. The silence that followed felt like drowning. She gripped the steering wheel, staring through the dusty windshield at what was supposed to be her new home, and felt reality fracture. This couldn't be where 30 years of marriage had led. The quarry stretched before her like an open wound. Grey limestone walls rose on 3 sides, creating an amphitheater carved decades ago and abandoned when the rock ran dry. The floor was covered in weeds, rusted machinery, and broken stone. At the far end sat a small structure, the tool shed that was now her only property. Donna was 64. She had grey hair she'd stopped colouring when Thomas made that comment about trying too hard. She had arthritis that made her hands ache. She had a college degree never used because marriage at 22 meant Thomas said they didn't need 2 incomes. She had 3 decades making houses beautiful on a budget, and no idea how that translated into surviving alone in an abandoned quarry. The November wind cut through her coat, carrying the smell of damp stone and decay. She walked toward the shed, knees protesting with each step. Up close, it was worse. 15 feet by 20, weathered wood gone grey, sagging roof, cracked window, crooked door. This was it. 30 years of marriage, and this was what she got. Thomas kept the house she'd decorated, the savings she'd managed, the life they'd built. He got to continue with someone younger. And Donna got a tool shed in a dead quarry. "You can have the quarry," Thomas had said, like he was being generous. "Nobody wants it anyway. At least you'll have somewhere to go." Somewhere to go. At 64, after 30 years. Inside was worse. Mildew and oil smell, rusted tools, old paint cans, cracked concrete floor, a ratty mattress covered with mouse droppings in the corner. Donna grabbed the doorframe as her legs went weak. She was 64, alone, 2 suitcases in her car, $473 in the bank. No job, no skills the world valued, no family who cared. Her children sided with Thomas, said she was being difficult, should move on, be grateful. He was being fair. This was fair. Donna sat on the filthy mattress and looked out at the quarry walls rising like prison walls. The grey sky threatened rain. She thought, this is where I die. Not today, but this is where it ends. This is what 64 and discarded looks like. She sat as light faded, as temperature dropped, as rain began. Sat and felt cold seep into bones, felt herself shake, felt nothing but hollow emptiness. That night, curled on the filthy mattress, with only her coat for warmth, listening to rain drum the roof and drip through leaks, Donna cried, not quiet tears. She sobbed until her throat was raw, until nothing remained but exhaustion. Then she slept. Dawn came cold. Donna's body screamed when she tried to move. Every joint ached. Her back felt like nails were driven into her spine. She was 64 and her body made clear it hadn't signed up for this. She managed to stand and limped outside. Morning sun broke over the quarry rim, sending shadows across the floor. And Donna saw something she'd missed in yesterday's despair. The quarry wasn't just grey. The limestone walls layered with cream, tan, soft pink. Water seepage created artistic stains. At the bottom, water collected in pools reflecting sky. On the far wall where sun hit, water trickled down, making stone glitter. Donna walked toward it slowly, reached the wall, put her hand against cold, damp limestone. Water seeped from a crack 8 feet up, running down, carving a groove over time, creating a pool at the base. A spring. natural spring in the quarry wall. Donna stood with her hand on stone, watching that trickle catch sunlight, and felt something shift inside. Not hope, not yet, but a question forming. If water could still flow from this abandoned place, if stone could still glitter in right light, then maybe she wasn't as empty as she felt. Maybe she was like the quarry, just needed someone to look closer. Donna looked at her palm, dirty with limestone dust. These hands had made homes beautiful for 30 years. Thomas looked at these hands and saw nothing worth keeping. But these hands still worked. Her back still straightened despite pain. Her mind still functioned. Her body might be 64 and aching, but it was hers, capable here. She turned and looked back at the toolshed. Still a disaster, still alone and broke and abandoned. But as sun rose higher, she made a decision. Not because she was hopeful, because the alternative was waiting to die, and some stubborn part of her refused to give up. If she was going to die in this quarry, she'd die trying. She started with the mattress, dragged it out, got it was heavy, her back screaming, and left it in sun. Found a broom that worked, swept out mouse droppings, dirt, dead leaves, used wet clothes to wipe surfaces. The work made hands ache worse, made back feel like breaking, made her breathe hard in ways that reminded her she was 64. But she kept going. By afternoon, the shed was cleaner. She brought suitcases inside, found a corner that didn't leak, used old tarp to cover roof leaks. That night, she slept on the dried mattress. Still uncomfortable, but better. The shed still wasn't warm, but drier. She'd made it through one day at a time. For 2 weeks, Donna survived. She established routine. Wake at dawn, wash in spring water, eat protein bars, work. She organized tools, cleared weeds, reinforced roof, cleaned endlessly. At night, exhausted, she ate and slept deep. She spoke to no one. No one called. She existed in silence, alone with stone and sky. Her body hurt constantly. Hands swelled from labor. Back felt like nails in spine. Knees screamed. She was 64, and her body made very clear it wasn't built for this anymore. But she kept going because what else was there? Then came the storm. Real November storm with dark clouds and howling wind. Donna huddled as rain pounded the roof, as water found every weak point, as the structure shook. She moved her mattress to the driest corner and waited. It rained 2 days straight. By day 2, water came in faster than she could bail. Floor became shallow lake, everything damp, cold so deep it felt permanent. She shivered constantly, curled, trying to conserve warmth. Second night, delirious with cold and exhaustion, Donna thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Pneumonia at 64, dying alone in a hole because her husband found someone younger. The thought made her angry, really angry for the first time. Hot, immediate rage. She stood from her wet mattress and screamed at the roof, the rain, the universe. I'm not dying in this goddamn shed. I'm not dying because some man decided I wasn't worth keeping. I'm 64 years old and I still matter. I still matter. She grabbed a bucket and stormed into the rain. Soaked instantly, she didn't care. She stomped through flooded quarry to the wall and started bailing water, throwing bucket after bucket. Useless, completely pointless. Rain fell faster than she could bail, but she kept doing it because she needed to feel some control. On her 7th trip, Donna slipped and fell hard against the quarry wall. Impact knocked breath out. She grabbed wall to steady herself, gasping, hands scrabbling wet limestone, and under her right hand something shifted. Donna froze, pressed palm where she'd felt movement. A section of stone felt different, looser. She pushed, and it moved. She found a handhold and pulled. The section resisted, then gave way, tumbling to ground with a splash. Where the stone had been, there was now a gap, a hollow space, and from that hollow water was flowing, not a trickle, a real stream, 3 inches wide, pouring from the gap. Donna peered into the gap. She couldn't see much in dim light and rain, but there was definitely space behind the wall, a cavity, and water flowing from it, clean and clear. The dislodged stone sat at her feet. In the rain-darkened surface, something caught light and glittered faintly. Donna bent and picked up the rock, heavy, rough, ordinary limestone on most surfaces, but where it had broken from the wall, there was a vein of crystal running through. Not dramatic, not gold or silver, just quartz or calcite, something common. But in grey rain, even that small vein sparkled. Donna stood in pouring rain, holding broken stone with tiny crystal vein, looking at the gap now streaming water, and felt something crack open inside. not breaking. Opening. The quarry had been excavated, exploited, emptied, then abandoned, written off as worthless. But underneath, hidden behind worthless stone, water had been flowing all along, small beauties waiting to be discovered. The quarry wasn't dead, just hidden. Donna looked at her hands holding crystalline stone, hands that ached. Hands 64 years old, hands Thomas saw as worthless, but these hands had just found beauty in dead quarry. These hands still worked, still discovered, still mattered. If stone could hide beauty, then maybe, just maybe, she could too. Donna tilted face up to rain and laughed. Broken, half-hysterical sound but real. First genuine laughter in months. She laughed at absurdity of standing in storm at 64, soaking wet, holding rock, finding hope in tiny crystal. The storm kept falling. Her shed still flooded. She still had no money, no plan. But she had found water, found tiny spark of beauty in worthless stone, and found something else. Anger strong enough to keep her standing, purpose stubborn enough to make her try. Donna carried the rock back to shed, placed it on workbench where she could see it, and got back to bailing. The storm would end. She would dry out. Then she would figure out what came next. One day at a time, one bucket at a time, one small discovery at a time. The storm ended on day 3. Donna woke to silence and sunlight through the window. She lay taking inventory. Body, everything hurt, but nothing broken. Mind, exhausted but clearer. Hands, swollen worse but functional. Heart, still beating, still fighting. She stepped outside. The quarry floor was transformed. Dry, cracked earth now covered with pools reflecting morning sky. Walls streaked dark with evaporating water. From the gap she'd created, water still flowed, creating steady stream that collected in natural depression, forming pools 6 feet across. Donna knelt beside it, ignoring mud and screaming knees. Water was clear. She could see bottom. She cupped hands and splashed face. Cold, clean possibility. She looked around with new eyes. 2 weeks she'd been surviving, but survival wasn't enough. She'd survived 64 years, survived 30 years marriage to man who never valued her, survived being discarded. Survival was bare minimum. She wanted to prove something. To Thomas, her children, the world that thought 64 meant used up, but mostly to herself. She wanted to prove she still mattered, that she could create beauty, that being discarded didn't mean worthless. Donna stood and looked at the tool shed, functional now, but still just shed. What if it could be more? She had tools, time, stubbornness. 30 years marriage hadn't broken. And this quarry, 50 years of accumulated detritus, broken machinery, discarded rock, metal scraps. What if trash could become something? She started that day, not with grand plan, but she knew how to make homes beautiful on budgets, knew how to see potential in discarded things. She'd been doing it 30 years, this was just bigger canvas. She started with water, stream from wall was steady. She found old pipes among machinery, hauled them to wall, figured out how to channel stream. 3 days of trial and error, piecing sections, redirecting flow. Hands bled from rusted metal, shoulders ached. But day 3, she got water flowing through pipes from wall to shed. Not inside, not ready for plumbing, but right outside where she could access it. Clean running water, small victory that felt enormous. Next, the quarry floor. She found serviceable rake, spent week pulling weeds, picking up rocks, smoothing ground, backbreaking. Several times she had to stop because back pain was so intense she couldn't straighten, but she'd rest, then continue. Slowly, area around she'd transformed from tangle to clear ground. When ground was clear, Donna brought in stone, flat pieces. Days searching quarry for relatively flat, smooth stones, hauling one by one. Arms shook, arthritic hands barely gripped by day's end. But she kept going. She laid stones in front of shed like pavers, creating small patio. Not perfect. Different sizes, irregular spacing, but intentional. Design. It transformed shed entrance from muddy ground to something almost welcoming. She found metal pieces and used them to edge the patio. Discovered she could use smaller stones to fill gaps, creating mosaic effect that was actually beautiful. Winter was coming. Frost on stones now. She needed to winterize. Found metal sheets and used them to reinforce walls, nailing inside to block drafts. Sealed gaps with mud mixed with grass. Created better roof system, layering tarps and metal to direct water, and built fire pit. Found metal drum. cut it in half with saw that left arms trembling, created small stove, put it near door where smoke could escape, built chimney from pipes. Week of smoky failures before she got it right. But when she finally did, when fire burned clean and warm, Donna felt something she hadn't felt in months. Pride. She'd built something. At 64, with arthritis and bad back and no experience, she'd built something that worked. That night, warm for first time since storm, Donna sat by fire and took stock. 6 weeks in Quarry, $473 down to $82, living on protein bars and water, losing weight, body hurt constantly. But shed was warmer, area transformed. She had running water. She had accomplished something. The crystalline rock sat on workbench, catching firelight. Donna looked at it and thought about gap in wall, about water flowing behind worthless stone, about beauty hidden, waiting for discovery. She thought about herself at 64, about 30 years being wife, homemaker, background support, about skills dismissed as not real work because they happened in home, about being discarded because skills weren't valued, but those skills had transformed this shed, created warmth and water and order from chaos. Those skills mattered. She mattered. Donna added wood to fire and made decision. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was building. She didn't know what exactly, but she had time, winter coming, nowhere else to be, and Quarry full of materials no one wanted. And these hands everyone decided weren't worth anything. She would prove them wrong. One stone at a time, one improvement at a time, she would transform this place, not for anyone else, for herself, because she could, because she still mattered. Because at 64, discarded and alone, she was discovering maybe she was more than she'd ever been allowed to be. Winter came hard. By December, frost covered Quarry every morning, wind knife-sharp and constant. Fire pit kept shed bearable, barely. She woke to breath fogging, to intensified joint ache. She was burning wood faster than anticipated. Her food situation was critical. Protein bars gone. She found wild edibles, chickweed, dandelion greens, winter berries, but not enough. Hungry constantly. Body burning calories for warmth, getting thinner daily. $82 bought rice and canned vegetables. Wouldn't last long. Her body was failing. Constant labor with cold and inadequate food took toll. Hands so swollen some mornings she couldn't make fist. Back went from aching to occasionally spasming so badly she'd fall gasping. Developed cough that rattled and wouldn't go away. But worst part wasn't physical suffering. Worst was doubt creeping in during long dark evenings. Donna would sit by fire exhausted and hungry and in pain and think, what am I doing? What am I trying to prove? Slowly starving and freezing, killing myself, transforming a place no one will ever see, that no one cares about. For what? Evening of December 18th, Donna hit breaking point. She'd spent day working on the pool, lining edges with flat stones. But cold made stones slippery. Numb fingers couldn't grip, and she'd dropped heavy piece that landed on her foot. Pain was immediate and intense. She limped back to shed, removed shoe with shaking hands, found entire foot purple and swelling. Probably not broken, but badly bruised. Maybe fracture, no way to know. No money for doctor. Donna sat on mattress looking at damaged foot, and something broke. All the strength, determination, anger keeping her going crumbled. She was 64, alone. Injured, starving, freezing, living in tool shed trying to make beauty from hole in ground. For what? She pulled out her phone, looked at screen. No missed calls, no texts. Children hadn't contacted since divorce finalized. Thomas certainly hadn't. She was completely alone. She found pictures from old life. Last Christmas, her and Thomas in front of tree, his arm around her, both smiling. She looked happy, content, safe, like woman who had home, husband, life that made sense. Donna stared at that photo and felt chasm between that woman and who she was now. That woman had warm house, food, husband who claimed to love her while planning to leave, had no idea what was coming. That woman thought she mattered because she had role, wife, homemaker, Thomas's partner. That woman's value was tied to someone else's perception. When that person decided she wasn't valuable, that woman became worthless, became her, sitting in freezing shed with broken foot and no future. Donna looked at reflection in phone's dark screen, saw old woman, 64 after weeks hard labor, inadequate food, constant cold, gray hair wild, face gaunt, eyes sunken. She looked like she was dying, probably was dying, maybe not today but slowly. This is what dying alone looks like, she thought. what it means to not matter anymore. The despair was overwhelming. She couldn't fight it, couldn't muster anger that sustained her. Just sat looking at ruined foot, at phone showing life gone forever, and felt herself giving up. What was she fighting for? Some abstract notion of proving worth? To who? No one was watching. No one cared. She could transform this entire quarry, and it wouldn't matter because no one to see it, acknowledge it, say you matter. She was doing this for herself, and herself wasn't enough. Never enough. Donna turned off phone, looked around, shed at improvements she'd made, thought, it's not enough. I'm not enough. She lay down, pulled coat over herself, stared at ceiling. Fire dying, should add wood, but didn't move. Just lay there as temperature dropped, as cold seeped in as she'd got darker. Lay there and thought about giving up, about just stopping. What would happen if she just stopped trying? Probably no one would even notice. But then, she didn't know why. She opened eyes and looked at workbench. The crystalline rock sat there, barely visible in fading light. That small piece of stone with thin vein of quartz, worthless by any practical measure, just broken piece of discarded rock from abandoned quarry. But in right light, it sparkled. She'd discovered it by accident, in storm, when everything seemed hopeless. Found beauty in worthless stone. Donna lay looking at that rock and thought, the quarry didn't know it had water flowing behind walls, didn't know it had crystal veins hidden. It was just existing, being what it was. And someone, her, had looked closer and found something. The quarry's value didn't come from anyone acknowledging it. Water had been flowing whether anyone saw or not. Crystal had been there whether anyone found it or not. Worth existed independent of being seen. Maybe that was true for her too. Maybe she'd spent 30 years thinking value came from being seen, appreciated, needed by Thomas. Maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe she'd had worth all along, just hidden, waiting for someone, herself, to look close enough to find it. Donna sat up slowly, injured foot throbbing, hobbled to workbench and picked up crystalline rock, held it in aching hands. Just a rock, couldn't feed her, couldn't heal foot, couldn't make children call or Thomas regret or cold go away. But it existed. It sparkled. It was beautiful in its own small way, and didn't need anyone's permission to be those things. I still matter, Donna said aloud to empty shed, to cold, to herself, voice hoarse, barely whisper. Even if no one sees it, even if no one cares, I still matter. She said it again, louder. I matter. The words felt fragile, but she held onto them, held them like she held the rock. Donna limped to fire pit and added wood, fed flame back to life, made shed warm again, then sat and looked at swollen foot, needed elevation, needed ice from snow outside, needed care for next week, and needed to eat something, even just last of rice. Because if she mattered, if she truly believed that, believed worth existed whether anyone else saw it, then she owed it to herself to keep going, not to prove something to someone else, but to honor the woman she was discovering beneath 30 years being defined by others. Donna ate cold rice from pot, elevated foot, stared into fire. Despair hadn't completely left, still lurked at edges, but she'd faced it tonight and chosen to keep going. That was enough. For tonight, enough. Tomorrow she'd rest foot, let body heal. Then, when she could walk, she'd continue work. Not because anyone was watching, not because anyone cared, but because work itself mattered. Because creating beauty mattered. Because she mattered. Even alone. Even discarded. Even at 64 in abandoned quarry. She mattered. And that was worth fighting for. By late February, 3 months after Donna's dark night, the quarry had transformed impossibly. Her foot had healed slowly, painfully but healed, and as winter loosened grip, as days grew incrementally longer, she'd returned to work with renewed purpose. Purpose was different now. Before breakdown, she'd worked to prove something, driven by anger and pride. After that night, after choosing to keep going for herself alone, work became something else. Meditation, creation for its own sake, making beauty because she could, because it brought joy, because it made her feel alive. The pool was now pond, weeks lining edges with flattest stones, creating border that looked intentional, designed. She'd cleared area around it, creating small clearing catching afternoon sun, and discovered water attracted birds. In dead winter, water sources precious and birds came to drink and bathe. Donna would sit nearby afternoons when sun-warmed quarry, watching chickadees and sparrows and occasional cardinals come to water, and feel something close to peace. She'd expanded pipe system using every scrap of old piping. Now water flowed not just to shed, but along quarry wall, creating small cascades where it spilled level to level. Effect was accidental but beautiful. Sound of running water echoed off stone, filling quarry with gentle sound replacing oppressive silence. Shed itself became more than shelter. She'd found old wood and built rough furniture, better mattress frame, proper shelf, small table. None fine work, but functional, made with care. She'd discovered old paint cans still had usable paint. Greys, browns, whites, all neutral but serviceable. She'd painted inside walls, covering stains and dirt with clean color. Space still small, still rough, but clean and organized and warm and hers. She'd even created mosaic border on concrete floor with stones. Took weeks of careful placement, but result looked almost artistic. Quarry walls became her canvas. She'd noticed different limestone sections had different colors and patterns, and started highlighting them. Using water, she could temporarily darken stone, making patterns visible. Spent hours studying walls, finding natural features looking almost like shapes or faces, carefully clearing debris to reveal them fully, like seeing pictures in clouds but permanent, carved in stone. And she'd continued exploring. Gap that first revealed spring led her to discover wall wasn't entirely solid. Places where water eroded limestone over decades, creating pockets and small caves. She'd found 3 such pockets, each small hollow behind wall's face. She'd carefully expanded openings, cautious not to cause collapse, and discovered these cavities had own beauty. Water seepage created mineral deposits, nothing valuable, just calcite and lime, but caught light in ways that made interiors sparkle. She'd begun using cave pockets as storage, as small shrines, placing found objects she thought beautiful, particularly perfect stones, weathered metal pieces, even the crystalline rock that started everything. One morning in late March, Donna stood at quarry entrance looking down at what she'd created. 4 months. 4 months since arriving broken and hopeless. And in that time, with nothing but hands and time and quarry full of discarded materials, she'd built something, not just shelter, a place of beauty. Morning sun hit far wall where water cascaded, making it glitter. Pond reflected sky, perfectly still. Birds gathered for morning drink. Shed sat amid it all, no longer abandoned but purposeful, cared for. And everywhere, in stone-lined paths, in small gardens, where she'd started planting wild sprouting seeds. In careful arrangement of rocks and metal and wood, everywhere was evidence of human care, of someone choosing to make beauty. Donna was 64. She was thinner. Weight loss from winter made clothes hang loose, but stronger too. Arms had muscle never had before. Hands, while still arthritic and swollen, were capable in ways never tested. Body hurt, yes, but hurt of work, of use, of purpose, not hollow ache of worthlessness. She'd survived winter, survived cold and hunger and injury and despair, survived being completely alone with only thoughts and stone for company, and done more than survive, created, transformed dead quarry into living sanctuary, proven to herself what she desperately needed to prove, that she mattered, that hands could build beauty, that at 64, discarded and dismissed, she was more capable and creative and alive than she'd ever been when valued as someone's wife. Spring was coming. Already green things pushing through quarry floor. Already air losing winter's brutal edge. Already work becoming easier as temperature rose. And Donna had plans. She wanted proper garden in sunniest section. Expand water features. Explore far end barely touched yet. Continue building, creating, transforming. Not for anyone else. Just for herself, just for joy of it. Donna walked down into quarry, boots crunching on stone she'd laid, and got to work. There was always work, and she was grateful for it. It was last week of April when Thomas came back. Donna was working in her garden, section of quarry floor where she'd built up soil using composted plant matter and minerals broken from stone. She'd planted seeds found in old shed, some actually sprouted, creating small green shoots, filling her with disproportionate joy. Dirt under fingernails, back aching from bending, and she was content in way she'd never been in 30 years' marriage. She heard car before seeing it. Sound of engine was so foreign after months' silence that at first she couldn't identify it, then looked up and saw silver Mercedes, Thomas's Mercedes, pulling into quarry entrance. Her stomach dropped. For a moment felt like that broken woman who'd arrived November, felt small and ashamed and caught. She almost ran to shed to hide, to make herself presentable, to No. Donna stood slowly, brushed dirt off hands, and waited. She was 64. Standing in Quarry she'd transformed with own hands, wearing clothes worn and dirty from work. She wasn't the woman Thomas left. Didn't need his approval. Didn't need anything from him. Mercedes drove down into Quarry and parked near pond. Thomas got out. He'd aged. Only 4 months, but looked older. Greyer hair. Put on weight. Wearing expensive casual clothes that looked absurd in rough Quarry. He stood by car looking around, and Donna saw his face change. Shock, then confusion, then something like awe. "Donna?" Voice carried across Quarry. "My God, what have you done?" Donna walked toward him, taking her time, letting him look, letting him see what she'd built. When close enough to speak without shouting, she stopped, left 10 feet between them. "Hello, Thomas." He was staring at her, trying to reconcile what he saw with what he'd expected to find her broken, living in squalor, proving she couldn't manage without him. Instead, looking at woman thin but strong, dirty but healthy, standing in middle of transformed Quarry, no longer abandoned, but intentional. "I came to—" He paused, looked around again. "I came to check on you. You haven't answered your phone. I keep it off to save battery. For 4 months? I didn't have anyone to call." The words hung in air. Thomas had grace to look uncomfortable. "Donna, this place. What is this?" "It's where I live." "No, I mean—" He gestured around. "The water path's shed looks different. Did you do all this? Who else would have?" He walked toward pond, Donna following at distance, watching him take in stone-lined edges, clear water, birds that scattered, looked at cascading water, at small caves revealed, at garden plot. "This is incredible," he said, genuinely amazed. "How did you— with what money?" "No money. Just what was here. The Quarry isn't dead, Thomas. Just needed someone to see what was possible." He turned to look at her. "You did this alone at your age?" "At your age, even now, even standing in middle of proof age hadn't stopped her building beauty." "Yes," Donna said simply. "Alone, at 64. Thomas walked to shed and looked inside. Donna stayed outside, letting him see. When he came back out, shaking his head, "Donna, this is— I don't even know what to say. This is beautiful, really beautiful. Thank you. I had no idea you could do something like this, that you had this in you." There it was. Thing wrong with their entire marriage summed in one sentence. He'd had no idea. 30 years together and never known what she was capable of because he'd never looked, never asked, never cared. "I didn't either," Donna said honestly. "I didn't know because I never had chance to find out, but I do now." Thomas was quiet. Then, "Donna, I made a mistake, leaving you. I see that now. Looking at this, looking at you, I made terrible mistake." Donna felt nothing. No vindication, no anger, no pain. Just nothing. "Okay," she said. "I want to fix this. Come back. You could come back to house. We could—" "No! Donna, please, I'm sorry. I was an idiot. You're clearly capable of so much more than I gave you credit for. We could start over." "No," Donna said again, more firmly. "Thomas, look around. Really look. Do you know why this place is beautiful?" He glanced around, confused by question. "Because you worked hard on it. Because I made it for myself. Not to impress anyone. Not to make someone else comfortable. Not because it was expected. I made it because I wanted to. Because it brought me joy. Because I could." She stepped closer. "For 30 years I made our house beautiful. Made your life comfortable. Made everything work. And you looked at me and saw nothing worth keeping. You left me with nothing but broken tool shed and called it fair. Donna, I know I was wrong. I'm not finished. You left me with nothing. And I discovered nothing was exactly what I needed, because with nothing left to lose, I could finally figure out who I was without you. What I was capable of when I wasn't trying to be what you wanted. So you're saying no? You won't even consider— I'm saying you gave me this Quarry because you thought it was worthless. Because you thought I was worthless. But you were wrong about both. This Quarry had water flowing beneath surface, had beauty hidden in stone, had potential you couldn't see because you never looked close enough." Donna smiled, genuine. "I was same way. I had all this inside me. Creativity, strength, capability. And neither of us knew it because I was too busy being your wife to discover who I actually was." Thomas looked stricken. "So that's it? You're just going to stay here alone living in Quarry?" "I'm going to stay here doing work that matters to me, creating beauty because I can, living life that's mine. Yes, alone is fine, alone is good, alone means I get to be myself." She gestured toward car. You should go, Thomas. Thank you for checking on me. I appreciate knowing you don't want me to die alone in Hull, but I'm not dying. I'm living, probably for first time really living, and I'm doing it here without you. Donna, goodbye, Thomas. She turned and walked back to her garden, back to work, back to life. Heard him stand there long moment, heard car door open, close, heard engine start, heard him drive away, and felt nothing but relief. She was free, truly, completely free, not because he'd left her, but because she'd discovered she didn't need him to matter. She mattered because she existed, because she created, because she was herself, fully and without apology. Sound of water cascading down quarry wall filled silence Thomas's car left behind. Birds returned to pond. Spring sun warmed Donna's back as she worked, and she was content, more than content. She was whole. Summer transformed Quarry into something impossible. Garden exploded with growth, tomatoes, herbs, even flowers from ancient seeds. Quarry walls covered with climbing vines, pond surrounded by lush vegetation, birds nested in small caves. Place felt alive impossibly given what it had been 6 months ago. Donna herself transformed. At 65 now, birthday in May, celebrated alone with garden tomato and deep satisfaction, she was stronger than in decades. Body still hurt. Age didn't change that. But functional pain, pain of body being used for real work, not hollow ache of sitting idle and invisible. She'd established routine that worked. Woke dawn, tended garden, worked on projects. Ate food she'd grown, supplemented by occasional town trips for basics when she had money. Money came sporadically, selling vegetables and herbs at farmers' market. Not much, but enough to survive. Slept well, exhausted from work, content. And she'd started having visitors. Began in June. Woman named Patricia, maybe 70, who'd somehow heard about Quarry, probably town gossip about crazy woman living in Hull, drove out one afternoon, asking if she could see what Donna built. Donna was wary, protective, but something about Patricia's face, lines of hard life, hunger in eyes when she looked at transformed Quarry, made Donna say yes. Patricia walked around in silence, touching stone walls, watching water cascade, sitting by pond. Finally said, "My husband left me last year, took everything. My children say I should move to assisted living, that I'm too old to take care of myself." She looked at Donna. "But I'm not ready to stop living. And I don't know how to start over." Donna understood immediately, understood in her bones what this woman felt. "You start small," Donna said. "One thing at a time, one day at a time. You take what you have, even if it's almost nothing, and you build something, not for anyone else, for yourself. I don't know if I can. I didn't know either, but I did. And if I can do it at 64 with arthritis and no money and tool shed, you can too." Patricia came back next week, and week after. Donna showed her how to identify materials that could be repurposed, how to see potential in discarded things, how to create beauty on no budget. Showed her importance of choosing to create for yourself, not to prove anything, but because creation itself was valuable. Then came Margaret, 58, recently divorced. Then Linda, 72, whose children wrote her off as useless. Then Sarah, 66, who'd lost husband and didn't know who she was without him. One by one they found their way to Quarry. Donna never advertised, never sought them out. They just came, drawn by word of mouth, by story of woman who'd been left with nothing and built something beautiful. And Donna taught them, not formally, not like classes, but through showing, through doing, through sharing what she'd learned about creating value in world that said they had none. She taught them to see beauty in broken things, to transform worthless into valuable, to use their hands to create when hands were old and aching, to find purpose when world said they were past age of mattering. Quarry became what Donna never intended, gathering place. Women would come summer afternoons, work in garden, help maintain water features, sit by pond and talk. They shared stories of being discarded, dismissed, told they were too old, too useless, too past their prime to matter, and helped each other remember none of that was true. One afternoon, late July, Donna sat by pond with 7 women ranging from 56 to 74, all working on small projects, mosaic with broken stone, basket weaving with quarry grasses, building small water features. Sound of their laughter echoed off walls, and Donna felt something she hadn't felt in 30 years' marriage, genuine community. These women saw her, really saw her, not as someone's wife, not as background support, not as invisible labor, but as herself. As Donna, who'd survived being discarded and built something beautiful from nothing, who'd proven 64, 65, 70, whatever age, wasn't too old to create, to matter, to live fully. Patricia looked up from small pond she was building and said, "Donna, you saved my life, you know that, right?" Donna shook head. "I didn't save anything. You saved yourself. You just needed to see it was possible." "No," Linda interjected. "Patricia's right. You showed us we still mattered. That we could still build something. That being discarded didn't mean being worthless." "You always mattered," Donna said firmly. "All of you. You just needed place where you could remember that, where you could see what you were capable of without anyone telling you that you were too old, too weak, too past it to do anything meaningful." Sarah, quietest of group, spoke up. "But you created that place. You built this from nothing. You proved it was possible. That matters." Donna looked around Quarry, at transformed space, at women working together, at beauty they were creating collectively, and thought about broken woman who'd arrived November, who'd thought this hole would be where she came to die. She'd been right, in way. Woman she'd been had died here. Woman who thought value came from being someone's wife, who believed worth was determined by others' perception, who'd accepted being invisible and undervalued. That woman was gone. And in her place was someone Donna was still getting to know, someone who built things, who created beauty, who mattered because she existed, not because anyone else validated existence. Someone who, at 65, was just beginning to understand what she was capable of. "I didn't build this alone," Donna said, looking at women around her. "The Quarry built me. It showed me what was possible when you strip away everything you thought defined you, when you're left with nothing but yourself and discover that yourself is enough." "Is it?" Margaret asked quietly. "Enough? Being alone?" Donna thought about that, about months of solitude, of no one to talk to but stone and birds, about loneliness that still hit sometimes in evenings, ache of having no one to share small joys, about Thomas driving away, and relief mixed with tiny thread of loss. "Alone isn't same as lonely," Donna said finally. "I was lonelier in 30 years marriage than I've ever been in this Quarry, because in marriage I wasn't seen. I was useful, but I wasn't valued as myself. Here I'm fully myself, and yes, sometimes that means being alone, but it also means being authentic, being free, being able to create without worrying whether someone else approves." She smiled. "And turns out I'm not alone anyway. You all found me. We found each other. Women who were told we didn't matter discovering together that we absolutely do." Afternoon sun was setting, sending long shadows across Quarry floor. Water in pond turned gold. Birds gathered for evening drink, and 7 women sat together in transformed hole in ground, creating beauty with old hands, proving with every stone placed and seed planted that age was not ending. It was just another beginning. It was October again. 1 year since Donna arrived at Quarry, broken and hopeless. 1 year of transformation, of Quarry, of herself, of understanding what it meant to matter. Quarry was unrecognizable. What had been abandoned hole was now terraced garden sanctuary. Water features expanded into intricate system of pools and cascades, sheds surrounded by gardens, paths lined with mosaics created from broken stone, and everywhere was evidence of care, of attention, of someone choosing to make beauty. Donna stood at Quarry entrance on cool October morning, looking down at what she'd created, and felt something close to complete peace. She was 65, hair completely grey now, long and usually in practical braid, hands permanently swollen from arthritis, but they worked. Body lean and strong in ways it never had been, despite constant ache. Face weathered from year outdoor work, lined with year of living fully. She looked every one of 65 years, and never felt more beautiful. Because beauty wasn't about looking young or being desired or fitting someone else's aesthetic. Beauty was about authenticity, about being fully yourself, without apology, about creating things that brought joy, for no reason except creating itself was valuable. Sound of cars made her turn. 3 vehicles pulling into entrance, her regular group coming for weekly gathering. They'd been coming all summer into fall, and Quarry had become their shared space. Each woman contributed, each created, each found healing in work of transformation. Today Patricia was bringing someone new. Patricia got out with younger woman, maybe early 40s, who looked around with wide eyes. "Donna, this is my daughter Jessica," Patricia said. "She's going through divorce. I thought maybe she could see this." Donna felt awareness of cycles, of how pain echoed through generations. "Of course," she said. She led Jessica down into Quarry, watching her face take in terraced gardens, water features, transformed shed, beauty created from abandonment. "My mum told me you did all this yourself," Jessica said. "After your divorce. She said you were 64 when you started." 64, Donna confirmed. "Alone, with nothing but broken tool shed and lot of anger." "I'm 42, Jessica said quietly, "and I feel like my life is over, like I failed." Donna stopped and turned to face her. "Listen to me. Your life is not over at 42. My life wasn't over at 64. Life is never over as long as you're still breathing, still capable of choosing what comes next. But I don't know what comes next. I don't know who I am without him." "Good," Donna said. "Not knowing is where possibility lives. I didn't know who I was without Thomas. Turned out I was someone more capable, more creative, more alive than I'd ever been with him. You get to discover who you are too. And you're 42, you have so much time." Jessica looked around. "Did you ever get lonely?" "Yes," Donna said honestly. "Sometimes profoundly lonely, but I learned difference between being alone and being lonely. I was lonelier in 30 years marriage than in this Quarry, because in marriage I wasn't really seen. Here, working alone, I finally saw myself. And once you really see yourself, once you understand your own value independent of anyone else's perception, that's not lonely. That's freedom." Other women had arrived and were starting usual projects. Donna led Jessica to pond, to quiet place where water was clearest and sound of cascades loudest. "Your mother told you I was 64 when I started this," Donna said. "But she probably didn't tell you that I spent first month wanting to die, that I cried myself to sleep most nights, that I had breakdown in December where I genuinely thought about giving up." Jessica looked startled. "She didn't mention that. Hard parts are important. Despair is part of story. Because you need to know starting over isn't easy. Building something from nothing hurts. Discovering who you are when everything you thought defined you is gone, it's terrifying." Donna sat on stone bench she'd created. "But it's also most important work you'll ever do. Not for anyone else, for yourself. Because at end, you don't just have something you built. You have proof that you matter, that your hands can create beauty. That you're enough all by yourself." Jessica sat beside her. "I don't know if I'm strong enough. Neither did I. But strength isn't something you have. It's something you build, one day at a time, one small act of creation at a time, one choice to keep going even when it's hard." Donna gestured around. "Every stone in every wall here was placed by hands that hurt. Every path was built by body that ached. Every garden was planted by someone who didn't know if she'd live to see it grow. But I did it anyway, because work itself mattered more than whether I was comfortable doing it." She looked at Jessica directly. "You're 42. You have decades to discover who you are, to build something entirely yours, to create life that makes you happy instead of just comfortable. Don't waste those decades mourning someone who couldn't see your value. Use them to discover it yourself." Afternoon passed in work and conversation. Jessica helped in garden, hands awkward at first, unused to physical labor, but Donna watched her slowly relax, watched face change as she planted seeds and pulled weeds and made small decisions, watched her remember she was capable, that she could create, that she mattered. As sun set and women began leaving, Patricia hugged Donna tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing Jessica, for showing all of us." "I didn't show you anything you didn't already have," Donna said. "I just reminded you to look." When everyone left, Donna sat alone by pond as twilight deepened. Quarry was quiet except for water and evening bird calls. In fading light, water features glittered. Gardens rustled in breeze. Shed glowed warm from lantern inside. 1 year from absolute rock bottom to this. Donna thought about woman who'd arrived last November, broken and certain life was over. That woman believed value came from being someone's wife, from being useful to someone else, from being young enough to be desired. That woman thought 64 meant end of everything worth having. Donna understood now that 64, 65, any age, meant nothing except another year of possibility, another year to create, to discover, to build something beautiful. Another year to matter, not because someone else said so, but because she existed, because she breathed, because she chose to make existence count. She'd built sanctuary, not just in Quarry, though she'd done that too, transformed dead hole into living garden, but inside herself. She'd built place where she could be fully authentic, where value wasn't dependent on anyone else, where she mattered simply because she was herself. And in doing that, created place where other women could remember their own value too. Donna touched stone wall beside her, same wall where she'd first found crystalline rock, where water had been flowing hidden all along, waiting for discovery. "Thank you," she said to stone, to quarry, to universe that brought her here. "Thank you for breaking me open. Thank you for forcing me to discover what I was really made of." Quarry didn't answer, but water kept flowing, where it had been flowing 50 years before Donna arrived, and where it would keep flowing long after she was gone, creating beauty, carving its own path, mattering whether anyone saw it or not, just like her. Donna stood, body aching with familiar pain of day well used, and walked back to shed. Tomorrow she'd expand far garden, help Patricia finish backyard transformation, continue creating beauty for no reason except creating made her feel alive. Keep building this life she'd discovered, this authentic, difficult, beautiful life entirely hers. She was 65. She lived alone in Quarry. She had no husband, no traditional home, no conventional life, and she was more content than she'd ever been, because contentment didn't come from comfort or security or being valued by someone else. It came from knowing who you were, from creating things that mattered to you, from being fully, authentically yourself, without apology or compromise. Donna closed shed door against cooling night, lit lantern, sat at small table where she kept journal started in spring. She wrote, "Today Jessica came, 42, and thinking life is over because marriage ended. I told her what I wish someone had told me at 42. You're not too old, you're never too old. As long as you're alive, you can build something beautiful. As long as your hands work and heart beats, you matter. World will tell you otherwise. We'll say you're past your prime, too old, not worth investment. Don't listen. Build anyway, create anyway, matter anyway, because your value isn't determined by age or appearance or whether someone wants to be married to you. Your value is inherent. It exists because you exist. And the work you do, beauty you create, life you build, authentic self you become, that's proof. That's evidence you matter, that you always mattered, that you were never worthless, even when treated that way. You were just Quarry waiting for someone to look close enough to see water flowing beneath surface. You were always valuable. You just needed to discover it for yourself. She closed journal and looked around, transformed shed, at mosaic floor, painted walls, handmade furniture, all evidence of what these 65-year-old hands could create, and smiled. Tomorrow would bring new work, new challenges, new opportunities to create beauty from nothing. And she would meet them same way she'd met every day for past year, with aching hands and strong back and heart that had learned it didn't need anyone else's approval to know its own worth. This was her life, messy and unconventional, and built from discarded materials in abandoned hole in ground. And it was beautiful. She was beautiful, not despite her age or circumstances or past, but because of them, because she'd survived being broken and chosen to build herself into something new, because she'd learned that mattering wasn't something someone else gave you. It was something you created for yourself, one stone at a time, one day at a time, one choice to keep building, keep creating, keep living fully, even when world said you shouldn't bother. Dreams don't age. They just wait for you to be brave enough to pursue them. And Donna, at 65, had finally found that courage, had finally discovered it was never too late to matter, never too late to create something beautiful, never too late to become who you were always meant to be. The Quarry had been waiting for her all along, and she'd been waiting for herself. If you've ever been told you're too old to start over, if you've ever felt discarded when someone decided you weren't valuable anymore, if you've ever wondered whether you still matter when the world treats you as invisible, Donna's story is for you. Share this with every woman who needs to remember that age doesn't determine worth, that being alone isn't same as being worthless, that most beautiful transformations happen when we finally stop seeking validation from others and start creating value for ourselves. This is community that knows 64, 70, 80, any age is just another year of possibility. That your hands can still build beauty even when they ache. That you matter because you exist, because you breathe, because you choose to keep creating even when no one's watching. Welcome to Dreams Don't Age.